Today I'm at Fraser Coast Wildlife Sanctuary and the main attraction is the kangaroos. I was really wanting to try something very new, something that I've never done before. And the great thing with being here is that they're so friendly. We've had them eating out of our hand, so I've been able to get right up close and personal and really get that angle that I wanted to. Probably the tricky part is the fact that it is a sanctuary, it's not a native, natural scene. But as for a painting, I'm not sure, but let's see how I go. There always comes that moment where you really just want to try something different. And so this was probably the second time I've approached painting a kangaroo. Oh, sorry, I should say I drew it once about 25 years ago or 20 years ago. So this is the first painting. But what I loved with this little guy, and it's called a redneck kangaroo, I believe, from memory. And I love that yellowy ochre orange on the face and that little bit coming through in the fur, because a lot of kangaroos are just quite a dull grey. But this guy was a little hesitant to come up to me, so even though I had food in my hand and it was free for him, but he did take a little bit of coaxing. And the good trick is to, like chickens or a lot of animals, they are fairly food orientated, and so once you get them or get their attention, and it's always then a good trick is to try and have a look at the backdrop, the surroundings, the setting, and then use the feed to get the little creature or animal to sort of go where you want them to go. So I'm deliberately going a little warmer, a little brighter. And I think I probably got to the halfway part through this little block in, and I thought, you know what, I think I've got this painting. And that doesn't always happen with many a painting, but I just kind of knew that the shapes were so interesting, with even those little bits of white on the leg and on the neck area and on the face. Probably actually the hardest part was actually probably the background, this area that I'm working in, because it's just a shadow where I think there was like a building in there that had sort of some of that meshed sort of netting. I think it's to keep not all the rain out, but most of the rain out. And so actually this was a fun part, but that big shadow on the right, it's always harder to paint nothing, I find, when an area like, say, a soft, cloudy, foggy day, super heavy pea super fog, that's harder than painting a tree, and I find because there's so much that is not there. Hi, hope you're enjoying the video. If you want more in-depth tutorials, I release exclusive videos to my Patreon each month. Paint with confidence. Click on the link to sign up today. But we can bring in some little accents of light. That'll help just to give that distant focal point. Because if you were to take the kangaroo's face, nose, eyes, the green on the background left, and that little bit of light, kind of where I was just working on, and that little bit of orangey light in the distance, that's a not perfect triangulation, but it's not too bad. And I think this was probably one of the biggest challenges, was to get this area, because I think it was the most fur-like looking part of the whole kangaroo, and maybe that shoulder just underneath the ears and the neck. And because I was determined not to try and put every little, because there's actually lighter hair and then darker hair, so I was so determined not to get too fussy with it. Not because it was easier, I think mainly because I wanted it to look impressionistic still. But that's part of the reason I love to do these, because you just never know where, say I may be doing a cow, quite a bigger cow, and I'm needing to get a sensation of fur, or that hair fur on the cow. So one painting can always help out many other painting. So getting some of those lovely lights in. I was using the Eclipse combers and the 279 number 3 Master's Choice. That was that smaller one. This is the Eclipse. I probably use more of those these days than the little Master's Choice brushes, but they both are marvellous brushes to use and to have. And you may notice that I'm leaving the face to last. And a lot of times I do that on purpose. I try and get most of the painting done, partly because it is so important, and also partly because by this stage I've probably been going an hour to hour 15, 20. So I'm starting to get the feel of, and the dexterity and the brush starting to work for me, not me trying to work it. So that's why there was a great old saying, start the painting in the area that you can see how it's going to go. If you're uncertain how the painting's going to go, say on the face, the hands, the fur, don't start in those areas. Start on the areas that you can clearly see what needs to be done. So just bringing in that little Master's Choice brush there. I believe it's a size 3. Now we can come in and cut in with that beautiful sunlight on the grass. I really did actually used a tiny little bit of phthalo blue in this painting, which I've rarely ever used, but I felt with it being so much colder, that's where it was so good on that background green with a little bit of viridian, of course. But yeah, so now we can really get that feeling of light. So we're always working with a certain amount of uncertainty in a painting. That's why definitely stepping back, because we're always painting locally. We need to step back so we can see globally. And it just needs those few little accents here and there. I thought it was a super cute little kangaroo. And not that should be the reason why you're painting something, because it's pretty or cute, but that's what I felt this guy had in spades. So I think that's a good result, and I'm pretty happy.